Hey, yes. Hey. It's time for the test today. Aren't you excited for the test? That's good to hear because it's coming anyway. And here it is right now. Let's start. We're using Regents questions. And yeah, you're using Edpuzzle. And remember, at the end of the test, you can always go back and change some answers and do as well as you can. Get the grades you want. Why not? The worst thing that happened is that everybody gets a 100 on the test. Terrible, right? Okay, let's go. Number one, the chart below lists substances involved in the process of photosynthesis. Right? It has got four substances: glucose, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water. Which one of the following statements best describes how these substances interact in photosynthesis? Is it A, B and C combine to produce A and D? Is it B, A and B combine to produce C and D? Is it C, C and D combine to produce A and B? Or is it D, A and C combine to produce B and D? Number two, the cell represented below produces oxygen. Which structure allows the passage of oxygen into the environment? Is it A, B, C, or D? Number three, which activity can occur without the use of energy? Is it A, contraction of a muscle tissue cell, B, protein synthesis in a cell, C, movement of water across a membrane, or D, active transport of minerals? Get me out of the way there. Number four, the diagram below represents a specialized cell located in the root of a plant. The arrows in the diagram indicate the movement of molecules of oxygen and water into that cell. Right, so here's oxygen are the circles, water are the X's. It looks like we've got X's moving in, oxygen's moving in, etc. All right. Which row in the chart correctly identifies the process responsible for the movement of each type of molecule represented? Is it row A, diffusion and active transport? Is it row B, diffusion and diffusion? Is it row C, the active transport and diffusion? Or is it row D, active transport and active transport? A function of white blood cells is to A, carry glucose to body cells, B, protect the body against pathogens, C, transport oxygen to body cells, D, produce hormones that regulate cell communication. Number six, the human immune system fights infection by releasing A, antibodies, B, antibiotics, C, antigens, D, ATPs. Number seven, a dead or weakened pathogen used to establish immunity would most likely be found in A toxin, B, an antibiotic, C, a pesticide, D, a vaccine. Number eight, a 6-year-old child ate a peanut butter sandwich at snack time in school. 5 minutes later, her throat became swollen and she collapsed. This allergic reaction occurred because her body, A, recognized an antigen in peanut butter and produced antibiotics against it. B, recognized an antigen in peanut butter and produced an immune response. C, digested the white blood cells that can recognize an antigen in peanut butter. D, did not recognize an antigen in peanut butter and could not produce antibodies against it. Number nine, number nine, number nine, number nine, number nine, number nine. The diagram below represents the roles of different parts of the human body in keeping blood sugar at a balanced normal level over time. Homeostasis of blood sugar level. Body system X, organ Y. Body system X breaks down carbohydrates and releases sugar into the blood. Organ Y makes hormone A, which releases sugar stored in the liver to enter the blood. And it makes hormone B, which moves sugar out of the blood and into cells. When body system X releases too much sugar in the blood, the body can maintain homeostasis by making A, more hormone B only, B, no hormone A and no hormone B, more hormone A and more hormone B, or D, more hormone A only? Number 10, concentration of potassium is higher in red blood cells than it is in the surrounding blood plasma. This higher concentration is maintained by the process of A, diffusion, B, circulation, C, excretion, D, active transport. Number 11, which one of the following statements is most likely correct regarding soil bacteria that inhabits the polar regions of the Earth? A, they contain enzymes that function at low temperatures. B, they do not carry out the process of respiration. C, they are part of the abiotic resources of that ecosystem. Or D, they do not reproduce. Number 12, cell membranes are said to be selectively permeable. Which one of the following statements best explains what selectively permeable means? A, the cell membrane prevents any harmful substance from entering the cell. B, the cell membrane allows only large molecules to diffuse into the cell. C, the cell membrane has pores that let only water and glucose into the cell and carbon dioxide out. D, the cell membrane lets certain substances enter the cell and keeps certain substances out of the cell. Well, look at all this. Number 13, the diagram below represents the distribution of some molecules inside and outside of an artificial cell over a period of time. Here's the key: water is circles, oxygen is squares, proteins are triangles. Which one of the following statements best supported by the diagram? A, protein molecules are kept inside of the cell because the cell needs them. B, oxygen molecules entered the cell over time by active transport. C, water molecules are too large to enter or leave the cell, so they remained where they were at the start of the investigation. D, the protein molecules are too large to diffuse out of the cell. Number 14, a model cell setup is represented in the initial state diagram right here below. Here's the key: starch is S, G is glucose, I is iodine, starch indicator. Which one of the following diagrams indicates the areas where each of these substances would be located after 20 minutes? Is it A, B, C, or D? Number 15, you see they got a beaker, artificial cell containing glucose and starch, water with starch indicator. After 2 hours, the color in the liquid in the beaker did not change. This shows that A, glucose molecules combine to produce starch inside of the artificial cell. B, glucose moved from the artificial cell into the beaker. C, starch did not pass out of the artificial cell. D, starch was digested into glucose inside the artificial cell. Number 16, the diagram below represents an experimental setup. Got starch indicator and water, a dialysis tube with starch solution on the inside. The student filled the dialysis tube with 97% water solution and sealed the ends. The tube and its contents had a mass of 55 grams. The student placed the tube in a solution, and the mass of the tube and its contents increased to 60 grams. Into which one of the following solutions was the dialysis tube placed? Was it placed into A, 99% water, B, 0% water, C, 95% water, or D, 97% water? Number 17, how do cells in the ovary detect a hormone from the brain? A, white blood cells bring the hormone to the ovary. B, receptor molecules on the cells of the ovary bind with the hormone. C, vacuoles within the ovary bind with the hormone. D, the brain sends a nerve impulse to the ovary. Number 18. A child with cystic fibrosis has an altered protein in his cells that stops chloride ions from leaving the cells. This protein most likely affects the functioning of A, ribosomes, B, cell membranes, C, nuclei, D, mitochondria. Number 19, the diagram below represents the results of a net movement of a specific kind of molecule across a living cell membrane. Here's the membrane, side A to side B, and the molecules are moving from A to B. The movement of molecules from side A to side B is an example of the process of A, diffusion, B, chromatography, C, cellular respiration, D, active transport. Number 20, the diagram below represents a plant leaf cell and two different molecules used in the process of glucose synthesis. Molecule 1, molecule 2, and in glucose is the triangles. Molecules 1 and 2 are most likely A, nitrogen and water, B, nitrogen and oxygen, C, carbon dioxide and oxygen, D, carbon dioxide and water. Number 21, more than 100 years ago, Earth's atmosphere contained about 280 parts per million of carbon dioxide. It is predicted by the year 2050, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere could reach 700 parts per million, greatly increasing Earth's temperature. It's been suggested that growing more green plants would help to slow this increase. The best explanation for why the increased numbers of plants would help is that plants, A, serve as a non-renewable energy resource, B, serve as food for herbivores, C, remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis, D, remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during respiration. Number 22, the most likely result of completely removing carbon dioxide from the environment of a plant is that sugar production will A, decrease and eventually stop, B, continue at the same rate, C, increase and oxygen production will also increase, D, increase and oxygen production will stay the same. The diagram below shows number 23. The diagram below shows an experimental setup using an artificial plant cell. Molecules A and B are commonly found in plants. When tested, it was discovered that molecule A quickly passed through the artificial plant cell membrane. Molecule B did not pass through. The locations of molecules A and B at the beginning of the experiment are shown. Which one of the following statements best describes what was observed when the setup was examined 20 minutes later? A, only molecule B was found both inside and outside of the artificial cell. B, both molecules A and B were found inside and outside of the artificial cell. C, only molecule A was found both inside and outside of the artificial cell. D, molecule A remained inside the artificial cell and molecule B remained outside. Number 24. The diagram below represents one of many microscopic air sacs in the human lung. The alveolus is the place where oxygen and carbon dioxide move into and out of the blood. It's represented in this diagram. O2 into the blood, carbon dioxide out. Which one of the following statements best explains why these gases are able to move in the direction shown in the diagram? A, the blood coming to the lungs is low in CO2 and high in O2, so the gases each diffuse from a lower concentration to a higher concentration in this area. B, the blood coming to the lungs is high in CO2, low on O2, so the gases each diffuse from a higher to a lower concentration in this area. C, the O2 is needed by cells, so it is actively transported into the blood. The CO2, which is not needed, is actively transported out of the blood. D, the CO2 moves out of the capillary and into the alveolus to make more room for the blood to carry oxygen. Number 25. The diagram below represents the major parts of growing an onion plant, or of a growing onion plant. Nutrients are represented in the soil around the onion. Which one of the following statements best describes how nutrients enter the root cells of this onion plant? A, only nutrients needed by the plant enter root cells. B, the nutrients usually move from an area of high concentration in the soil to an area of low concentration in the root cells. C, nutrients always move into the plant cells by active transport. D, the nutrients always move from an area of low concentration in the soil to an area of high concentration in the root cells. Number 26. Oh, this is one of those constructed responses. You're going to write out your answer. There's not multiple choice. You have to write out the answer. Medical mystery. Number 26. Recently, an elderly man went to the hospital. He felt tired and was coughing and dehydrated. At first, the doctor thought he had pneumonia, but an x-ray showed a spot on his lung. Because the man was a smoker, the doctor expected to find a tumor. Instead, the surgeon discovered a pea seed growing inside the man's lung. When the pea seedling was removed, the patient quickly regained his health. State whether the pea seedling could have continued to grow and develop in the lung over a long period of time and support your answer. State whether the pea seedling could have continued to grow and develop in the lung over a long period of time. Support your answer. Number 27, an immune response is primarily due to the body's white blood cells recognizing A, abiotic organisms, B, known antibiotics, C, foreign antigens, D, a hormone imbalance. '28. The diagram below illustrates activities taking place in the body of a human. Vaccinations usually stimulate the body to produce more of A, structure B only, B, structures A, B, and C, structure A only, D, structures A and C only. Number 29, bird flu. Researchers are not sure when the H7N9 virus, referred to as bird flu, hit the China poultry markets. In February of 2012, the virus was found to have spread from birds into humans. All cases that resulted from direct contact with infected poultry. The bird flu can cause severe respiratory illness in humans. Since flu viruses constantly mutate, it would be difficult to develop a vaccine ahead of time. Scientists are worried that the virus could spread easily among people, causing a worldwide outbreak of the disease. The fact that H7N9 virus has only recently affected humans helps explain why A, humans have little or no immunity to the virus, B, the human population has formed antibodies against the virus, C, it is highly transmissible through both air and water, D, it is only found in the U.S. Number 30. Recently, a human trachea was produced by using a patient's own stem cells. The benefit of using the patient's own cells to produce a trachea instead of receiving one from a donor is that A, there's less of a chance that the patient's immune system will attack the trachea. B, there will be an increase in the quantity of antibodies that the patient produces in response to that new trachea. C, there will be a greater response to any infectious agents that may enter the body. D, there will be more enzymes produced to help maintain homeostasis in the trachea. Another constructed response, when we're going to write out your answer. To attend public school in New York State, children need to be vaccinated against various diseases. The list below shows some required vaccinations: polio, tetanus, pertussis, measles, mumps, rubella, and diphtheria. Explain how vaccinations protect against diseases. Number 32 is also an extended response, constructed response question. 32, a child became ill with the measles. Measles is a disease that is highly contagious. The child's mother did not get sick, even though she and the child were very close while the child was ill. State one reason why the mother did not get sick with the measles. And finally, question 33, the last question on the test, HIV infection. The human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, which can lead to AIDS, is a type of virus that adds its genetic material to the DNA of the host cell. HIV reproduces within the host cell and exits through a process called budding. In the process of budding, the newly forming virus merges with the host cell membrane and pinches off, taking with it a section of the host cell membrane. It then enters into circulation. Your task is to describe one specific way that HIV makes the body unable to deal with other pathogens. Ooh, look how big I got. There you go. That's it. That's the test. You did it. Remember, go back and redo any questions that you missed. Do them a million times if you have to. Why not? Come on. Worst thing that happens, you get them all right. Right? That's going to look good on a report card. And it's just going to be practice for the Regents anyway. All right. Very well done. Let's go.